May 12, 2017, London. It starts like static. A few office computers freeze. Then, the screens turn black. A red box appears. Oops, your files have been encrypted. By noon, it's everywhere. Hospitals cancel surgeries. Ambulances reroute because they can't access patient data. Factories stall mid-production. Even traffic lights glitch out in some cities. The attack moves faster than any human can respond, a digital wildfire leaping from one vulnerable machine to the next. In cybersecurity rooms across the world, experts stare at code that looks unstoppable. A name begins to spread through chat rooms and news feeds, WannaCry. And like a bad dream, it lives up to it. WannaCry didn't appear out of nowhere. It was the child of a government, engineered deep inside the National Security Agency, buried in classified code, but the malware itself came later, built by unknown hackers. The exploit at its core, Eternal Blue, was built to slip silently into enemy systems. To spy, to disable, to control. It wasn't meant for hospitals or schools. It was meant for covert cyber operations. But secrets don't stay secret forever. Months before the attack, a mysterious group calling itself the Shadow Brokers dumped the NSA's hacking tools online. They didn't just leak files, they detonated trust. Every government, every hacker, every opportunist now had access to America's invisible arsenal. WannaCry was one of the first to weaponize it, a crude ransomware worm fused with top-tier espionage code, chaos disguised as a digital ransom note. Its instructions were simple. Lock the system, demand Bitcoin, and spread endlessly through the same security hole the NSA once exploited. By the time people realized what was happening, it was too late. Hospitals went dark. Delivery companies halted mid-route. Screens glowed with identical messages. Your files have been encrypted. Pay $300 or lose everything. It was like watching civilization's nervous system shut down, one flickering monitor at a time. The irony burned. A weapon built by the world's most secretive agency had turned against the world that funded it. And there was no manual on how to stop it. While the world panicked, a dim apartment in the south of England glowed blue. Two monitors hummed on a cluttered desk, wires tangled like veins, half-eaten cereal beside a mug that said, "Keep calm and code on." Here sat Marcus Hutchins, 22 years old. Online, he went by MalwareTech. Offline, just Marcus. Quiet, curious, a kid who connected with code from a young age. He wasn't a government analyst or a corporate security chief. He was a self-taught malware researcher, working remotely for a small cybersecurity firm, monitoring infections from his bedroom. All morning, his dashboard had been blinking like an ECG gone mad. Infection logs were flooding in, tens of thousands, climbing toward millions of pings. He zoomed out the world map. Red dots covered continents: Europe, Asia, America. The ransomware was spreading through everything still unpatched. Marcus leaned closer, eyes dry, heartbeat synced with the scrolling code. He recognized the pattern: ransomware, but smarter, moving without human command. It wasn't targeting a company, it was targeting the planet. Messages on forums were panicked. Researchers begged for clues. Even government agencies were silent. Marcus began downloading samples of the malware, dissecting it line by line. Somewhere inside, there had to be a flaw, a weakness, a crack in the code. He didn't know it yet, but the next few lines he'd read would change the outcome of the entire cyber attack. The savior of the internet wasn't in a control room. He was in pajamas, surrounded by snack wrappers, listening to his fans spin like a storm. Before the headlines and hero stories, Marcus was just a kid who liked breaking things. Not out of malice, out of hunger to know why they worked. He grew up in rural Devon, England. Quiet town, slow internet, too much time. His first computer was an old hand-me-down that barely booted. Within a week, he'd taken it apart. Within a month, he was building his own networks. School bored him. Rules bored him. The internet didn't. Online, he was anonymous, equal to anyone who could think fast and type faster. He joined hacking forums not to steal, but to learn. It was like a secret university for the curious. No tuition, no teachers, only skill. By his mid-teens, he was experimenting with malware, worms, keyloggers, exploits, learning how systems broke and why. He wasn't trying to hurt people, he was trying to understand the system by bending it. To him, code wasn't crime, it was language. But curiosity has gravity. The deeper he explored, the closer he drifted toward the people who did use their code for harm. Some of his early code, designed for experimentation, was later misused by others. When he realized, he panicked, deleted everything, swore off writing malicious code again. That decision drew a line in his life, before and after. Before, reckless talent. After, penance through protection. He later joined a cybersecurity firm, the same kind of experts who once tracked the malware he studied. And in May 2017, when the world began to burn, that old curiosity, the same instinct that once made him dangerous, was what made him invaluable. He had broken systems once to understand them. Now he would use that understanding to stop one. Marcus scrolls through the virus sample, line by line. The screen is a blur of commands and subroutines, a maze written by someone who wanted to be unreadable. He sips cold coffee, rubs his eyes, scrolls again. Nothing unusual until he spots a single string that shouldn't be there. A web address, a domain name, long, random, meaningless, and it doesn't exist. Most malware hides. This one was calling out. Every infected computer in the world was trying to contact that domain before executing its payload. Marcus stares at it, frowning. Weird, he mumbles. Maybe it's a tracker, a decoy, or a test feature. He decides to do what any researcher would, buy the domain, just to see what happens. He logs into a cheap hosting service, registers the strange name for about $10, and routes it to a server that collects data. The moment the registration goes through, his dashboard explodes, infection logs skyrocket, then suddenly, flatline. The red map stops growing, new infections cease. The world, for the first time that day, stops getting worse. Marcus blinks, refreshes the data, checks again. It's real. The domain wasn't a tracker, it was a kill switch. The malware's creators had built in an emergency shutdown mechanism, and by chance, Marcus had just triggered it. He leans back in his chair, stunned. In a single keystroke, a 22-year-old has accidentally halted the fastest cyber attack in history. He doesn't feel like a hero. He feels like someone who just tripped over a power cable and turned off Armageddon. Within a day, Marcus's online handle, MalwareTech, is everywhere. Cybersecurity, Twitter explodes, forums light up, news outlets start chasing the mysterious hacker who stopped WannaCry. Screenshots of his tweets spread faster than the virus itself. He's hailed as the kid who saved the world, but Marcus doesn't feel like a savior. He knows what luck smells like. He didn't outsmart the code. He stumbled into its weak spot. Still, for now, the world exhaled. Systems gradually came back online. Hospitals rebooted, deliveries resumed. Then the flood hit. Calls from journalists, security agencies, and even parents of patients who'd survived the shutdown. "Thank you," they said. "You saved lives. It should have felt good." Instead, it felt heavy. Marcus knew variants were already emerging. Hackers modifying WannaCry, trying to remove the kill switch and replicate its power. The virus had stopped, yes, but it had left a blueprint behind, and somewhere out there, someone smarter, colder, was already reworking it. He stared at his monitors, scrolling through chat logs filled with panic and praise. His mind split in two, one side numb, one side terrified. He wondered if the kill switch had only delayed something worse. In interviews, he smiled awkwardly, downplayed the story. But inside, one thought repeated like static. If an accident can save the internet, what happens when the next accident destroys it? The applause was loud, but beneath it, he could already hear the ticking of another countdown. As WannaCry burned out, governments rushed to claim calm. Press conferences filled with polished sentences. "We have restored stability." But behind those podiums, panic lingered. Because the truth was radioactive. WannaCry ransomware was based on the exploit, Eternal Blue, that was built by the NSA. So, once the initial shock passed, the questions began. How did a US cyberweapon leak into public hands? Who decided a global infection tool should ever exist outside a lab? And why had ordinary citizens become collateral damage in a digital war they never signed up for? All across the world, trust in the invisible architecture of the internet fractured. Cybersecurity circles repeated the name Eternal Blue like a warning. Governments accused one another of negligence. Even allies whispered betrayal. Meanwhile, cybersecurity experts raced to patch hundreds of thousands of vulnerable systems, closing the hole the NSA's leaked exploit had exposed. Each update was a quiet apology written in code, and somewhere in Washington, a few intelligence officials watched the chaos unfold, knowing exactly whose experiment had escaped. The moral line blurred. If Marcus was a criminal turned hero, the world's most powerful agency had become a hero turned culprit. It was a mirror moment, a single breach exposing the arrogance of the entire digital age. Marcus didn't celebrate. He stayed quiet, watching the debate ignite online. Lawmakers arguing about ethics, agencies defending their secrecy, journalists naming him the hacker who saved the internet. He hadn't planned to save anything, but now the entire planet was dissecting a story that began in his small apartment, and with one domain name that stopped the unstoppable. Months passed. The headlines faded. The world moved on. Marcus went back to his quiet life, still coding, still monitoring threats, still half-haunted by that day. He'd been invited to cybersecurity conferences, panels, interviews, always introduced as the man who saved the internet. He smiled, shook hands, answered politely, but deep down, something itched. He knew his past wasn't spotless. Before he became the hero, he had been curious, recklessly so. In his late teens, he wrote code that others later turned into malware used for banking fraud. Nothing earth-shattering, but enough to weigh on his conscience. He had moved on, tried to build a life on the right side of the firewall. But the internet never forgets. In August 2017, while preparing to board a plane home from a cybersecurity conference in Las Vegas, Marcus was stopped by two men in plain clothes. They were polite, calm, efficient. FBI. He was arrested on charges of creating and distributing the Kronos banking malware years earlier, long before WannaCry. News broke within hours. The hacker who saved the internet has been arrested. The story flipped overnight. Savior to suspect, hero to hypocrite. He spent days in custody, his reputation collapsing in real time. The same headlines that once called him brilliant now called him dangerous. But the people who followed his work, the cybersecurity community, rallied behind him. They knew the line between curiosity and crime had always been thin, especially for those who learned by breaking what others feared to touch. In the end, Marcus pleaded guilty, accepted responsibility, and received no prison sentence. The judge called him a brilliant young man who turned his life around. But the victory felt hollow. He'd seen how easily the world crowns heroes and crushes them in the same breath, and he knew this truth. Saving the internet doesn't save you from it. The story of Marcus Hutchins isn't about luck or genius. It's about the thin line between breaking and protecting, between chaos and order, drawn by people who understand both. He didn't save the internet because he was flawless. He saved it because he once understood how to break it. Sometimes redemption isn't loud. It's a quiet room, 2 screens, and the decision to do the right thing when no one's watching. For now, the network hums. Hospitals blink green. Flights stay on schedule. The screens are calm. But somewhere, another line of code is waiting, sleeping, learning. And the next time the world goes dark, there might not be a kill switch.